Birmingham Tuesday Worlds group ride. This week we got a few more strong people in here. This is maybe the strongest, but also one of the smallest groups we've had. So I think it's like 20, 25 people, but the field quality has continued to go up week after week as I think some of the stronger people who, we know in real life have seen that this ride is happening and been, attracted to it. And this is Zach Rader telling us green light, so that means it's time to go. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with a little attack here to get things moving. Flip the camera around, see who's coming with me, and it looks like everybody's trying right now. So this is a longer course this week. We did, I think, 42 total miles. So we're already almost an hour in, and now we're starting the real hard portion. We just decided based on the route this week. I think this route is called Bigfoot Hills. It's like 42 miles and several big climbs. We just decided that the base of the volcano climb would be a good place to kick the race portion of the race simulation portion of the ride off, whatever. Um, so you can see in the map on the top right there, things are strung out already. Where people are coming off the back, and that's definitely in the spirit of Tuesday Worlds. It gets real very quickly. So I was leading it for a minute. Now we got Brad Cox taking up the mantle, and I put in that first a little dig to split it up. I'm not totally sure how long this climb is at this point, so I'm maybe riding a little bit shy through here because I'm not really sure what the profile is. I know that it flattens out a few times, and I know that it kicks back up a few times, so I'm really just not going to let anyone get away. And it looks like Brad's trying to put in a little bit of a move there, so I'm just going to do what I got to do to cover that. Nice use of the arrow power up on this little -3 slope here for just a second. That's a good move. I also have an arrow power up, but I'm really just trying to hold on to it. This is another not knowing the course thing. Is I don't know where we're gonna pass under a banner, and I might get a power up. So whatever I've got, I'm gonna try to hold on to it until I really need it. When you know where you don't ever know what power up you're gonna get, but at least when it's a crit or something, or it's a course with a short lap, you know when you'll be able to get another power up again. And I really don't know when that time is on this course. When I know that there's going to be frequent opportunities for a power up, I'm a little bit less shy about using them just to get a little recovery, because there's kind of a couple ways to use them. You can use them, like I could use an arrow power up right now and do even less work than what I'm doing, or I could use it on a downhill to get a little bit of recovery, or you can use it just to stay on when you're in like emergency mode. There are various power ups that could help you not lose the group, or you can use them to try and win the race. And I'm really only gonna either do the emergency mode, try and stick an attack thing, or try and use one to win the race today, because again, I don't know when I'm gonna get one. So that was me checking. Martin Moots is a little bit caught out here, which I know he's one of those strong people I was talking about showing up today. We got Martin, who in real life gives me a run for my money a lot of times at Worlds and in races and stuff. Super strong guy. Moved here from Germany. Been racing a lot for a long time, riding a lot. We also have two riders in front of me in that maroon jersey. We got Gatlin, who duathlon national champion, really strong duathlete, maybe even triathlete. I don't know. Definitely strong time trialist. And it's good that he's finally on one of these. I know he's been watching the videos. I get his comments every week. So I think we finally coaxed him out here onto Zwift. Good to have him. Yeah, and there's so Martin did get back on. I think Martin's got a spotty internet connection because he does disappear a few times here, but he's back on. And then chasing us down right now, we have Scott Staubach, who's 9 seconds off the pace right here. He is very, very strong. This is probably a course that doesn't suit him. He's definitely a bigger guy than I am or any of us in the front group. And we also got Murphy Davis up here, strong XC racer, XC mountain bikes and cyclocross racer from Atlanta. And then my teammates Brad Cox and Zach Rader. Brad's from Anniston and Zach is from here in Birmingham, both Alabama people. So we got a good, strong front group here. Interestingly, it looks like D Quintana up there. It said, I'm thinking that must be Dyer Quintana, Nairo Quintana's brother. So there's a couple of group rides. So what we've got going on here is a group ride setting which hides everyone else from us, but they haven't. Zwift has not, like, you can see the chats aren't hidden. There are little chats that are in white that are not anyone who's on this group ride and not anyone that we can see in our world. Their chats are still popping up, and you'll see from time to time some like TJ Van Gardren's in the chat. A couple other EF riders are in this world and they're chatting up there where it says Zwifters nearby. You'll see chats pop up from time to time. So they must be riding the volcano route, and they're close enough that we're seeing their chats. They're just hidden. They're just hidden from us, but Zwift has not hidden their chat. And I think same thing with Dyer Quintana. There must have been a Movistar group ride at some point today where he set the time up the climb. So these times, it took me a while to figure this out. It's not like the all-time best Strava time or whatever. These times are for someone who's still online right now, I think, or within a certain amount of time. So Murphy just took it from Dyer Quintana. It would be weird if there was another D Quintana who set the best time on the climb. And I know that a lot of the World Tour teams are doing like regular group rides on Zwift. So that's just a fun little aside. Strong move by Murphy to roll over the top by himself here. I kind of know that I got Gatlin and Brad in front of me, who are both really strong time trialists. And Murphy is a little bit more of a punchy rider, so I kind of know this is coming back. The alarm bells are not really going off for me quite yet. Definitely, what Murphy is doing is definitely in the spirit of Tuesday Night Worlds, though. Just get out there and throw some attacks. There's no results sheet. There's no leaderboard. So we're really all just out here for a good ride, get a good workout, learn some tactics. So I'm learning from my mistakes in the USA Cycling race here. I'm watching my speed to know when I'm going fast enough to super tuck, and I'm also going to pedal hard for a second before I drop into a super tuck. And I'm going to watch the profile really closely to make sure the grade is staying above 3%. When I do go into super tuck here and you see Martin just kind of hopping around, I think that's a spotty internet connection, spotty upload. So for him it probably looks normal, but his avatar is uploading weird to the rest of us. So I think this is where I hit the back and start trying to we're on a 5% downhill, and I'm gonna try and use the super tuck here because this is a long descent. I mean, it was a long, I think that climb was 6 minutes. And here we go, hitting the super tuck. So now you can see the look on my face. My brow is furrowed. That is me really, really watching the speed. So that 36, 37 miles per hour. I got to make sure that stays above 35, I believe. Flattens out again, and I'm pedaling before it flattened out fully. so I'm not going to get caught out the way I did in the USA cycling race, which if you haven't watched that video, it's I definitely lost a group, maybe two groups, by super tucking too late or not committing to it or not getting back on the power when it was flattening out. And so, that's part of what I'm doing on. That's part of the fun of it, actually, is like learning how Zwift works and learning how to play the game. It's kind of like learning a new discipline of cycling or something. So again, I'm just looking for, like, it looks like it flattens out for a second here, so probably not. We got Jay Tyndall down there saying owie in the chat. Uh, yeah, and Zach says he agrees that this is hurting. So when Zach says something in the chat, because he's the ride leader, it pops up in the center of all of our screens like that. That's a cool feature. I wish you could make more than one ride leader so that we could have a few people whose job it is to stay on top of the announcements and whatnot. Because we do a lot of like having to say, okay, we're gonna start the race portion, in 2 miles, in 1 mile, 500 meters, like that kind of stuff. Because not everyone's paying attention to the chat the whole time, so you do have to restate things several times, and it would be helpful if more than one person could do that, and if more than one person had the arrow. Yeah, Jay Tyndall saying the matches are well and truly burned. That's funny. The chat does factor in, and I'm going back into the super tuck here. Yeah, this is just me just really trying to eke out every little bit of recovery that I can, because I know this is going to be a long one as far as these rides go, probably about 2 hours, which I don't know if you've ever done 2 hours on the trainer. You don't get to coast very often, so I'm trying to take advantage of that where I can. Get a little coasting in, get some recovery, because these guys are not gonna let it be an easy day. I might skip ahead a little bit right here, because I think basically once we hit the flat, we're hitting the flat here, and we definitely don't slow up. Like, no one else catches back on from behind. We put a pretty significant gap on everybody, but no one is going full attack. So I'm going to skip ahead to the next crucial point of the race. So we've been rolling steady for a few minutes. I'm going to throw this in on the chat there. Frank Travieso, that's a legendary crit racer. Frank Travieso just happens to be out here on Zwift, which that's one of the cool things. Yeah, and Zach saying, hey, look, it's Frank Travieso. That's one of the cool things I've noticed, like sort of a silver lining to the whole pandemic situation. A lot of cool run-ins on Zwift. Saw Al Donahue, the cyclocross coach, out here the other day. Jeremy Powers, coach, just ran into him riding around on Zwift. That's been happening a lot, so that's one cool thing out of this whole situation. So skipping ahead a little bit, what you've missed here is me. Yeah, I just said something to Zach in the chat, saying something to Brad in the chat. I got these two teammates in here, and I'm realizing that if we just leave it, we may just roll steady all the way, and we need to attack. So I've just told both of them we need to take turns attacking. You two don't chase me. We're going to have to make everybody else chase, especially Martin. Make everybody else work. So I just laid down an attack. Murphy's going with me. I'm going to stick Murphy's wheel, and this is kind of a perfect situation for this attack. I honestly didn't expect to get away as clean as we did, but that's one of the things about attacking at a sort of random time like that, is when you do it in a place everyone's expecting, like a climb. Sure, it makes more sense because it's easy to get separation there, but it's also what everyone is expecting you to do, so everyone's sort of prepared to pour the power on. And who knows, I may have caught them all taking a drink, sitting up, stretching the back, typing in the chat to each other. Who knows? So one annoying thing is there's no way for me to group chat both Brad and Zach. So I spent the last several K like typing out or voice, chatting. I guess dictation is what it's called. Yeah, Zach's messaging me. That could not have gone better. Yeah, we sort of instantly got 8 seconds there, which on Zwift is a pretty big margin. And it looks like we're coming into the base of the next big climb here, which I didn't realize this next climb was going to be quite so soon. I was kind of hoping we could throw a flyer, I was hoping we could trade a couple flyers before the next climb and maybe get me reabsorbed and get Zach off the front before the next climb. So you'll see how that plays out. Kind of caught Zach out a little bit here, which was unintentional, but other than catching Zach out and like losing a card to play in the finish, this was a good attack. This was a good move, and we're still holding steady at about 9 or 10 seconds. You can see Gatlin's trying to bring it back. Martin's trying to bring it back. So we definitely caught everybody, maybe not by surprise, but we've got a good margin. We're holding steady. So this attack is already successful just because it's making everybody work. I think we did a lot of sitting in between climb 1 and climb 2, and really got to play some team tactics here unless we want it to just come down to a sprint. Yeah, flipping it around to check. At this point, it looks like Martin, I think I maybe saw some red numbers pop up. Yeah, red numbers from Brad there. So I just want to check and see how quickly they're coming back to us, how quickly that gap is coming down. And you can see the big pillar of light there. That's where Zach is on the road because he is the ride leader. So he's still with them at this point, but now we're hitting. And Murphy's popped a power up, so I kind of know, okay, this is crucial time. I got to really put some watts down to stay with him. Even though we're on a climb, quote unquote, it's kind of rolling, and we're doing 26 miles per hour right here. So it is important that we stay together, stay drafting, or else we're just kind of giving it back to the guys behind. And at that point, the attack is kind of for naught. So got to stay on top of it, got to stay close to Murphy, got to keep the effort going all the way up here. And at this point, yeah, Martin's 1 second off, but we're still not going to just give it back to him. 2 seconds, 1 second, back and forth. And I'm not totally sure at this point where the top is, so I'm kind of thinking we might break his spirit a little bit if we were to go over the top with 1 second, keep the pressure on, and then he just can't close it down. It's so hard on Zwift, like at this moment when you're kind of going over the knuckle of a big climb. If you're not in the draft at that moment, it's so hard to close it down. Once you hit that downhill and the speeds get higher and the drafting becomes more effective, but also if you're outside the draft, it's harder to get in. That's just a tough spot to be in. So, but it looks like we're back together minus Zach Rader. I think we lost him at some point on that climb, one of those steep kicks. But that's honestly, I was super impressed that Zach stayed with us on the volcano climb. That's probably a little bit bigger of a climb than he, longer and steeper of a climb than he would normally hang with this crowd. This is sort of an elite climber group we got going on here. I kind of listed everybody's palmares a little bit beforehand, but I'll also say I think probably everyone in this group is like 75 Ks and under. Definitely all over 4 watt a kilo FTPs, probably pushing up toward 5 watt per kilo FTPs. So these are some climbers. It is interesting though. We've got like sort of different power profiles, with me and Murphy being like the punchiest riders, probably the best short power, best 1 minute, best 15 second for sure, most repeatable power. Um, yeah, so I think right there, you didn't see it in the chat because you can't see my outgoing messages. I think I told Brad that it's his turn to hit it, and because that's the plan, we got to kind of trade off attacks and make everybody else work, not chase each other down. And I'm kind of screwing around, messing with the chat and stuff. He hits it, and I'm a little bit caught out here. But yeah, Brad is a very good time trialist, and then you also got Gatlin, who's a good time trialist. Martin's kind of an all-arounder. I mean, Martin probably like not the best time trialist in the group, not the best climber in the group, not the best like 1 minute power, but it's like his punch is probably better than the least punchy guys, and his time trialing is probably better than Murphy and I. He's probably like the most balanced rider out here, I would say. And I will also throw out that Martin is kind of my danger man at this point. I think we're sort of marking each other because so often in real world races and real world riding, we end up together or finishing close together or battling each other. So that's sort of the order of the day here. And so my goal here is I just got to get to Martin. So I've popped my aero boost as we hit this slight downhill. I'm just going to make sure I close it down to Martin. And at this point, I still think like Martin's probably going to put down an effort and get us up there. And then the net result of this whole thing will just be Martin will have made one more effort and will probably have dropped Gatlin. But that's not going to be how it plays out. Brad and Murphy are both really motivated to work, and again, you can't see my outgoing chat messages, but I think what I'm doing looking down right now is I'm messaging Brad, and I think I said, I've got Martin, you've got Murphy, you go, I'm gonna make him chase, something along those lines. Basically, go, go, go. So it is fun to kind of play some team tactics in these Worlds rides. Yeah, checking back to see, and Gatlin's out of sight at this point. So sort of settling into this group and just keeping my eye on Martin for any big attacks. Skipping ahead a little bit here, we just came through Titan's Grove with the dinosaurs and stuff. Maybe I should have left that in the video just because, the dinosaurs are pretty cool. But I wanted to show, this is where I realized that Gatlin was making some headway on us, and Gatlin got back on. So, I flipped the camera around just to make sure. I always try to do that when someone's coming up pretty quick. You definitely want to keep an eye on their intercept slope, I guess would be a good way to say it, and make sure they don't just blast right past you. That can actually make it really tough to get back on their wheel. So again, we got a group of 3 now, and I don't know at this point. Like, Martin's doing 5.8 watts a kilo, so we're going pretty good. My thought is like, okay, maybe Martin and Gatlin will get motivated now that they're together, and they will pull us up there. So I got to stay fresh in that event. If these two pull us back up to Brad, it would pretty much be my job, in my mind at least, to counterattack as soon as we make the group here. So I'm trying to figure out the chat. I think I was using the companion app for the chat, and that's why you weren't seeing it. And then that time I realized I was doing it on the keyboard itself and backed off. So settling into this group. I'm definitely not going to do the pulling and chase Brad back. I'm going to try and stay as fresh as I can so that I'm ready to counterattack if we get back to him early, or sprint if we get back to him late. A few miles down the road, getting back into it, we've really just been swapping pulls. So I'm noticing here the gap had gone out to almost a minute. It's down to 15 seconds now. So I'm just going to send a chat to the group here, let them know the gap's going down, and just maybe keep that motivation going on their end, because really this is kind of a win-win for me, for Shift. I'm gonna switch over and just check in on Brad and Murphy. This is a cool feature of Zwift, is you can just click on anyone's name on the right there and see their camera. I mean, it's kind of risky for me to do that in this scenario, because when I'm not watching my own camera, if one of these two guys attacks, I could get really caught out. But we've been rolling really steady for a really long time, and I was seeing some little gaps going out between Brad and Murphy, so just got curious, just wanted to see. But yeah, this is kind of a win-win for me, because if they do pull back Brad, then it's an attack from me, and if they don't, I'm gonna win the sprint from this group, hopefully, and hopefully Brad will roll Murphy in the group ahead. But so you can see the green dots, they're going around the bend ahead of us right here. Checking behind, just I don't even know why I was checking behind there. Yeah, so they're like one switchback ahead, and this is almost exactly the point on the USA Cycling race, another video that, I don't know, maybe uploaded at the same time as this, around the same time. USA Cycling race, we were going up this climb, and this is around the point where I hit the front too early. I just kind of got panicked by this 1% grade and by these switchbacks. So I started trying to hit the front too early and got caught on the front when I should have not even really been near it yet. Sort of wasted my matches, so I'm trying to remember my past mistakes and learn from them here, and save it for when we're really gonna hit the climb, which I believe, nope, it's not even here. So this is the base of the final climb. You can see we're hitting the beginning of the segment or whatever, those little red dots in the road. So this is the spot in the USA Cycling race where I was back in like 100th place, realized that I was at the actual back of the group, and then the grade kicks up. So I'm trying to be ready for that now. I kind of know where I'm at. Totally different situation being in here with a much smaller group, but same principle applies. Just this is the spot where you got to be ready. This is the spot where you got to be looking, and yeah, as predicted, this is where Martin's hitting his power up. I mean, well placed on the 10%, but I was ready with a 500 watt bomb there real quick to stay on. So I'm just gonna do what I gotta do to stay in it, and I think that might have been curtains for Gatlin there. You can see the gap is at 5 seconds to him. Kudos to him for not giving up, though, because you'll see it's not like he sits up and that gap goes way out really quickly. He stays on the power. He just, being such a steady state rider, I think some of these really hard punches on the steep stuff, that's just not an energy system. He trains as much as, definitely not as much as I do, probably not as much as Martin does. So yeah, this is the crucial moments. Looking up the road, it looks like Murphy's got 9 seconds on Brad, so now I'm thinking like, oh man, the situation has changed. Maybe I need to keep an eye on that and like try to jump across once we get to the bottom of the descent or something. And so now Oh, this is another spot I learned something in the USA cycling race. Looks like you're going downhill here, and you are going downhill, but it's not the start of the descent. It's just a little roller, and it's easier for me to see that now with the ETA thing and the whatever that little scoreboard thing is. It's telling me that my ETA is 4:05, which is helpful knowing I got about a minute and a half where I got to stay on. And Martin is kicking again. I just got to stay in it. I got a little recovery on that downhill, but I know that's not the top. And again, like Murphy still got 5 seconds on Brad, so I'm getting ready to maybe reshuffle a little bit here. Everything could change, and it looks like maybe the alarm bells are finally starting to go off for Martin, where he realizes maybe this is just him trying to drop me, or maybe this is him realizing that the race is truly up the road at this point, and like I'm not gonna chase my teammate back, so it's really on him, or maybe he was marking me and this is where he sees the spot to chase me. But either way, the situation on the road is changing. Murphy off the front, Brad slightly caught out. So I'm thinking maybe if Martin drags me back up to Brad again, I'm just gonna attack immediately, and then I'll try to get to Murphy, and then I will sprint from there. That's sort of what's going through my head at this moment. Although it looks like Brad is back on terms with Murphy as they crest the climb, which good news on that front. That means that all I got to do here is stay on Martin, and it also means that Brad is not hasn't wasted all of his matches maybe. And that's sort of typical of the type of rider Brad is and the type of rider Murphy is. For Murphy to put in a punchy attack and get away, but for Brad to eat into that gap slowly. Yeah, really making use of the super tuck, and this is the same descent that I did a bad job of super tucking and got caught out in the USA cycling race. But I'm just doing a better job of managing it here, and like as Martin starts to pull away, I'm gonna go ahead and spin up, knowing that I need to be on the wheel before we hit the bottom of the descent here. I don't know what that flash was, but I think that was sort of the beginning of the end here. So I'll say unfortunate circumstances here in the final Ks. So in my mind, I'm setting up to sprint here. It looks like race situation. Brad is putting in some attacks. Yeah, I'm checking in there. We got Brad off the front. Murphy is, I believe that's Murphy right there. Yeah. So that's Murphy right there immediately ahead of us. It looks like we're going to make contact with Murphy. Drumming along to something. So in my mind, this is Brad and I can maybe go 1-2 here. I'm going to get the sprint. And so we make contact with Murphy. We got 1.4 miles to go. And my thought is like, okay, great. I'm going to sit on here. Going to wait for about 0.2 miles out, which is like 300 meters-ish. I will sprint from there, and that'll be the ball game. What I was not anticipating is I got a lot of sweat going on right here, and at some point, I think right there, I just blew a little puff of air, and that landed on my trackpad, clicked on a bunch of stuff. You just saw the flash on my face, and the screen is frozen. So the trackpad is frantically clicking on things with my sweat, and game crashed. That is, I'm thinking maybe I can save it. Done deal. So that is it. Sweat on the trackpad, clicked on some stuff, and crashed the game. So that's it for this one. But Fun ride regardless. Bummed I didn't get the XP, but it is what it is. Later.